Hi guys, it's Aussie Expat here, and today we're going to be doing an state of the collection review.
Just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody.
Okay guys, so I just spent my Saturday and a large part of my Sunday morning here converting this toolbox into a watch case, and I think it's really cool. It's IP65 water resistant. It's got handles. It's got double walls. It's probably more durable than a Pelican, certain ways anyway. Thought I'd do a watch review. So this thing has 15 slots. It took me quite a lot of time to get this together. I think I'm going to look into how to do this more professionally, as in like laser cutting and so forth. But I like the output now. I like it. Now, a lot of the key is like the cushions. This would be really fitting with the wave pattern if it was green, like a Rolex green, like the box. But here, I wanted to load it up. So I've got all the watches here today. Not a common occurrence. And yeah, let's get into it. So interestingly today, I do have my wife's watches in here. And this is the first SOTC where we will get to take a look at these. So let's go chronologically. And the first luxury watch in our family was the Yachtmaster 37. And a beautiful watch, something that my wife has desired for a very long time. Because, I said, like, which is the Rolex that you want most? And, went to a catalog, and this was the one that, was picked, that she picked. And so when I came to Las Vegas, it was 2020, and things were going well, basically. And I thought, it's time. It's time. I wanted my Submariner, and I wanted my wife to have something too. And I thought, I know the easy way, even in hard cities, is to get the wife something. So this is the Yachtmaster 37 in rose gold. And it's such a cool watch. It's still, a gold Rolex. So it's, bit of a flex, but at the same time, with so much black on it, it is clearly useful everywhere. And I love that the Yachtmaster writing is in red with a matte dial. It's just such a callback to, like the old Submariners. So I think it's a very cool piece. I'd love to get a 40 millimeter one day, the right time, I don't know, eventually. And, I was working with my AD, and they got me the new Submariner. So this was like, one of the first few batches of the Submariner 41. And, this was my dream watch. And this could have been it. This could have been the one and done. I really, sometimes I think back as like, should I have continued going from here? Did I really need to go on, keep going? And it was at that time, I knew that, a GMT was not really in the cards, but, I asked for one anyway. And I thought, maybe this is the end of the road. If I don't get a GMT, maybe that's, I'm just one and done. But here we are. So I think it was only like a few weeks later that I get the call for a Batgirl. And yeah, what can I say? At the time, just like my wife picked out the Yachtmaster 37 as being her favorite looking Rolex, I felt the Batgirl was it. Between this and the Pepsi, I feel that the Pepsi, like on paper, it sounds like it would be better. Like it has blue. So, this has blue. So if you want blue and red, you're not adverse to that. Why not get blue and red? For me, I just feel that the colors on the Pepsi are just too muted, that the blue and red hardly ever stand out. And I just love the Batgirl. It's sort of like the OG hype watch. Daytona's always been there, but really when I heard that things were getting kind of crazy with Rolex, it was about this watch. I think it was a Times article about this piece, the BLNR. And so Yeah, and because it happened so quickly and I wasn't used to having luxury pieces at the time, I ended up sizing it for my wife and then putting it in the safe for, I think, a couple of years actually. So I rarely wore this, even though I had it. I felt I hadn't earned this yet. I had something in mind, and we'll get to that. At the same time, I also got the Tudor Pelagos in blue. I really just was enamored with the ceramic matte blue. It's just very, very beautiful. Did give me a little bit of a dilemma at the time because at that point I didn't have that many watches, and now all of a sudden I've got 2 blue watches. So that was a little bit funky, but so this was always a watch that it's good to have, a Tudor when you don't want to be wearing a Rolex, and this is a high quality piece and kind of unique. And looking at the Pelagos line now, it's full of so many watches, but really this is still the core, the professionals diver. Then following that, we move on to the Explorer 36. So this was a new release in 2021, and I'd seen so many YouTubers, and I was honestly heavily influenced, and I saw this come out, and I just felt it was beautiful. And yeah, lo and behold, it is. It is, and it is one of my most worn watches. It sort of comes in spurts and drabs. Like it just sort of, there might be like a month where I'm like, Explorer, that's it, the only thing. So this is one of my most worn watches, but it was really only in the first couple months of the year where it got its time, and I was traveling with it. Really, really excellent piece, very versatile piece, definitely a one and done level watch. Then, if I remember correctly, the Hulk came in. It might have been before the Explorer or just after, somewhere around about there. I was in a real spurt. This is all still the first part of 2021. And I just had this strong desire to get a birth year watch for my son, a 2019. And if I'm going aftermarket, I thought I may as well get the piece that I adored the most. And it was only after seeing a Hulk in person that I sort of warmed up to it. I always thought the green was a little gaudy and silly and not nice, but after seeing it in person, I realized that it's really a chameleon. That it's really capable of a lot of things. This watch is literally the only watch that has continued to be worn in increasing amounts as my collection has grown. So we've gone from, when it entered the collection, it was like 1 in 4 or 5. Now I've got 11 luxury watches, and this is being worn like more than double than even in its first year that I got it. And it's really because of just how versatile a Submariner is. And the other aspect is it's stolen almost all the wrist time from my black Submariner, just because I tend to like the lugs and just the design of the 40mm a little bit more these days. I appreciate the movement on the 31 series versus the 32. 32's fine, but for me, the trade-off for more power reserve instead of reliability just isn't what I love. I won't say that I'll throw it away or something, but I really think the 31 series is really fantastic. And if you think about Rolex, all the modern releases ever since the new modern GMT Master 2 with ceramic bezel, they've all been perfect, like right out of the gate. And we'll get more to that in a bit, but yeah, I just love the Hulk. It's easily my most worn watch, and the one I would see going down to one of, like, no matter what, like this is the only one. And I wear it hiking and camping, and I do everything. If it's not literally everything, I've decided to stop wearing Seikos and Casios and lower end beaters, and the lowest I'll go to now. And don't call me a snob or something like that. I mean, by low, I just mean, the ones that I love more, you know what I mean? And so lowest I'll go these days is my Tudor Pelagos FXD. And I even wear this, lifting weights and stuff. So I'm willing to live with this one as being my lifetime beater. Anyway, so after that, I ended up getting, at the time, the new Speedmaster 3861. I think it was new in the later part of the previous year, but it had been like floating in and out of stock. It was kind of a little bit hot, and I ended up picking one up as soon as it was like widely available, so it's not an allocation piece at that time. Now, saying this now in 2024, the idea that Omega could be allocation piece is like completely bonkers. But I was feeling very self-conscious about my collection at that time. It was all hype watches and stuff, and everyone says you got to get a Speedmaster, and so I decided to get a Speedmaster. I think that overall, I'm not really a fan anymore, and I think this $10 OEM strap meant for like a plastic Speedmaster is actually better than the OEM one, because the clasp on that is just so atrocious. And then where are we going? We got on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, a Panda Daytona. Now, ever since the Speedmaster, I was after the Daytona. I was never really a Daytona guy until I saw one in person, and the fact that it's 38 millimeters, like 38.4 to be exact, I realized that it was for me. I've got a smaller wrist, and I always imagined that this would be too big or something like that, and I don't know. I'm not a huge chronograph person, but look, it happened. It was quite the journey. My essay at the time said that they had one that didn't sell over Christmas, and so they had one, quote unquote, laying around and looking for the right customer. And I think they were basically that day they were deliberating on it, and it was just the right time, day after Christmas. And I gotta say, this was probably, apart from getting the first Rolex, this was obviously the biggest moment in watch collecting for me. Just phenomenal. It's been absolutely awesome watch. In steel, this is just, it's an excellent watch. You can literally do anything in it. Kind of like the sub. You kind of don't want to do the roughest stuff with it, it's still, it's still a pretty boy. But yeah, I wear this one a lot. That being said, it hasn't gotten more wrist time every year since that point, like the Hulk. The Hulk is the only one that just goes up. And I put that down to, I've got fancy watches that sort of take the place, but nothing takes the place of a Submariner when you want to, do sport and hiking, blah, 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 travel. I'm willing to travel with a Hulk. I'm not willing to travel with the Panda Daytona unless it's like some very specific event, Around the same time, I wanted another Tudor. This is the Black Bay 58. I gotta say, this is a very, very versatile watch. Perfect size. I don't see any reason that a collection couldn't have a Black Bay 58. There's always room for it, unless you've got like an original sort of sub of that era. But then again, that's so worth so much and so vintage that you probably wouldn't want to wear it around as much as you would, say, the Black Bay 58. Okay, where are we going? Okay, we're going to start off with my wife's watches. So the one that she wanted was, I think this was announced in 2021, and this is the Palm Motif Datejust. Now, originally she wanted the Oyster bracelet with smooth bezel, just because the dial is complicated enough. You don't need the Jubilee and the fluted bezel. But this is what became available. Seeing it in person, I wouldn't say that's a compromise, and you kind of need one of these style Datejusts in a collection, your fluted bezel Jubilee bracelet at some point, and it may as well be the one that you want, quote unquote, the one that you love. She tends to like jungle themes and stuff like that, and this was just perfect. I mean, we have a lot of jungle themey stuff in our house. Like we've got palms and stuff like that everywhere. So this was just quote unquote her watch. Moving on, I think similar time frame, she also got this, the Candy Pink OP. This came from not our usual AD, and this was to celebrate the birth of our daughter. And what a perfect piece, and she's turned out to be a real princess of a daughter, so I think pink is going to really be her color. My wife, candy pink wasn't really her first preference. It was the Tiffany. My wife's not like a girl that likes pink. But we had to accept this just because, well, it's appropriate, number one. The primary goal is a celebration of our daughter. But actually the AD had lost their Rolex relationship, and this was like one of their last pieces that they wanted to help us celebrate with. And yeah, it's an appropriate color to celebrate. So it is what it is. If in any other circumstance, we probably would have said no to a watch that wasn't exactly what we wanted. I mean, these are luxury pieces. Get exactly what you want, guys. I mean, I don't really care about, how do we say, flipper value, because we're not flipping these. So it didn't matter. Like, I wouldn't just say yes to things that have, high flipper value like this piece. But as I said, this was an AD that really helped us, basically. Like, they didn't need to do anything for us. It was a first purchase, kind of crazy. So that was that. One of my last sports pickups is the Polar Explorer 2, and this is the 226570, the newer one. I've always just adored the Explorer 2 Polar. There's just something about it, the white dial. It's just so beautiful. I have used it playing golf. It's kind of crazy at 42 millimeter to be doing that, but it doesn't have a spinny bezel. So there's no way for sand to get underneath it and stuff like that. And, it's a sports watch, so I have used it for that purpose. Otherwise, I've also done a little bit of traveling with it, with the GMT function. When I'm interacting with other time zones, I used it recently. I went to London, and the GMT function was quite useful. I realized doing that trip that interacting with other people and, traveling those time zones, actually doing it, I do find that the GMT Master 2's complication with the bezel is a little bit handier for that. But, honestly, it's so flashy, I wouldn't actually travel with the GMT Master 2 that much. I don't think it's too flashy. It's a Submariner trying to be dressed up, right? So I would say even the Daytona is not as flashy as this, at least to normies. Normies see like the crenulated bezel and the Jubilee bracelet, they think flashy. This is quote unquote sports. The black and white watch is smart looking, but it doesn't necessarily jump in people's faces. So this has seen its fair share of travel. Wonderful watch. I love the starkness of the white. You should really try and see one of these in person. And Rolex did a video recently. So here in Nevada, it's obviously very hot. I literally live in a desert. And on some days, the magnifier is like, magnifying like a hotspot onto the dial. I'm like, oh, I really don't want that to happen because I don't need the dial to fade because it's getting literally burned. And I was wondering, I wonder what this is made out of. It's perfectly matte, but you see no texture to it, like if it was like a paint or something like that. And I really wondered. And there was a recent video from Rolex's official YouTube, and they showed that they're using a brass plate for the dial, and then they anodize it in silver, and then they use a laser over that anodized silver, and it produces this stark, beautiful matte white. And that's just amazing because it means that, this dial has already seen intense light, intense energy levels just from that lasering process, that this thing will hold its whiteness for a very long time to come, and certainly a little glance in the sun is not going to hurt it. And then the next event, and I was kind of tardy about it because Explorer 2 took so long, was 10-year anniversary of my wife. And I had it, and I was supposed to work the entire year trying to get our anniversary pieces. And, I ended up springing this on my idea. Hey, I need gold Daytonas, please. 10-year anniversary, make it happen. And they were pretty down on like whether or not that was a possibility. And certainly 2 was completely out of the question. So we were looking at some of their pre-owned and stuff like that. But what do you know? About a month later, they call for this particular piece, and it's just absolutely stunning. So my wife made all of the decisions on this one. And, on paper, this isn't one that I would have picked. But in reality, you have to see it. So I think this is one of Rolex's only dials that has gear shade. So you see those subdials, those rings? Those are gear shade rings. This dial doesn't exist anymore. On the 12 series, they changed it so that it is a sort of a brushed sunburst finish, not a gear shade sub rings. So these gear shade subdial rings are just absolutely stunning. Like if you put this on your wrist and you change the angles and stuff, they just completely flash with every single bit of movement. So I got this for her 10-year anniversary. We did the Las Vegas thing where we went through a drive-through to do our vow renewals, and she exchanged this one. So this came out of the safe, sized it for me, and so this is my 10-year anniversary watch. So that worked out well. Things end up happening for a reason, and this has been an absolutely incredible, statement piece. Just Ever Rose is just so classy, and this black and gold, it's just classy. Which brings us to, I think, maybe a year and a half after I bought the Explorer 2. So I didn't buy a watch for quite a long time for myself. My wife was getting all the action, and I picked up the Air-King and the FXD in black. So FXD, when it came out in black anyway, a lot of people were pretty like whatever. It's a pretty ignorable piece like black. Actually, that's a little bit funny considering how much attention the monochrome Black Bay got. This is your monochrome Pelagos, Pelagos, I've been wearing it a lot. It now replaces all wrist time for non-luxury, so I'll wear this whenever I would normally wear a G-Shock. It's a real bruiser of a watch, and it's appropriate, and in general, I like it. My friend had a heart attack. Yeah, that sounds serious. It was serious. I mean, he plays it off, but my friend had a heart attack at the gym, and as a watch guy, eventually I was like, "Oh, what were you wearing? What were you doing at the time?" And he had his Tudor chrono on, and I'm like, "Oh man, like you should get your Batgirl already. Do you want to die and not your favorite watch or whatever?" But what was me? I'm working out in a G-Shock usually. I love G-Shocks, but do I want to die in one? I don't know. So I've really taken the plunge on this one. It's got a lot of wrist time. Even if basically this one's always around, and it's on right now because I spent the last day constructing the inserts for this thing, and using set squares and hot glue and and knives and so forth. I just wanted something that I didn't have to think about, and that's what this watch is. It's just the absolute luxury beater. Now the Air-King, I just loved its design. At this point, my watch collection was getting really boring, honestly, as in it's all just some sports watches, steel sports watches, very predictable. And while this, yes, is another steel sports watch, it is quirky. It is quirky. I don't think anyone will deny that. It's got more numbers on it. on its dial than all of the numbers on all the other sports pieces put together. So yeah, it is a quirky piece. I have to admit, it hasn't gotten that much wrist time. I'm not exactly sure why. I do like the piece. I just think that it sort of sits in the middle of the road like the Explorer, but it doesn't have the heritage of the Explorer. It's a 40 mil instead of 36, so there's no real feel difference to wearing this versus, say, wearing a Submariner. So it just ends up not getting a lot of wrist time unless I want something quirky. And on that quirky note, I got this, the Pinky. I don't know how to talk about this. When I first asked for it, there really wasn't. I didn't perceive any of the hype that was building around it at all. I went in and said, "Hey, I really like that pink one," and I was told very clearly, like, "Oh, we're not really going to get one of those. Like, there's only going to be like 50 in the country or something like that." So I just put it out of my mind. I really didn't think about it. In the meantime, I did buy my wife a Black Bay 36, just because at this point, her lowest end watch was either the Candy Pink OP, which, is actually worth a fair bit of money. And she didn't, particularly like candy anyway. She does wear it every now and then when she's, trying to think of our daughter. But, these aren't beaters. So she kind of needed a beater. So she got the Black Bay 36, the new one in the 5-link. And anyway, when I started hearing about allocations coming out for the pink, I actually sort of freaked out because I realized at this time that this is kind of a hot watch at the time or now. Or what, I don't really care. But I really didn't need that heat on my quote-unquote my account. As in, I didn't want quote-unquote an allocation piece because what I'd been working towards was a platinum Daytona, what I'd asked for, and I wasn't sure if I get an allocation piece, if that would delay things or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so the first round of watches, I explicitly don't send it my way. And then I end up talking to my SAs and say, no, as long as it's not, another Daytona or something, then, it shouldn't affect you trying to go for what you want. So just get what you want. And so the next allocation around, this was like a big yes. And I just celebrated landing a new job with a new company and everything. And it came the day of me celebrating that. So I went out with my friends for a dinner at the Wynn. At Venetian, big steak dinner. That was a lot of fun. This one is it's a very fun piece. Like, I don't have many super fun pieces until yellow gold Daytona. So what happened? I ended up seeing the platinum Daytona in person, and I realized, and in my head, I really wanted something that would complement my wife's Daytona. I wanted something, flashy, a statement piece that, was obviously, flashy, quite frankly. And the platinum Daytona, it looks like this. It's got a blue dial. Pretty much, it looks like this. So it really didn't hit me in the way that I wanted it to. I really wanted something like it was just a full-on celebration. And so I started warming up to yellow gold. I didn't want to get Everose. I feel like my wife's got the best Everose Daytona easily, honestly. Like, the dial doesn't even exist anymore. If I had to pick an Everose Daytona, this is it. So I can't buy that again. So I started warming up to yellow gold, and there's the JPS dial, which is kind of boring, honestly, and then a few other ones. And I really settled on this. I wanted something that was gold on gold on gold, and I really liked this particular configuration. So this isn't the Pikachu. The Pikachu has full black subdials, and I actually like the previous generation Pikachus a little bit better because they have a blacked out indices that give a little bit more contrast. It's really playing up that, black and yellow theme. This one, I think the last time that they had this one where they had the subdials, the inner subdials in gold, this is another throwback to the Zenith era Daytonas. So along with the squared off indices, you also have this throwback to that particular dial. And I don't know, there's something about just a whole bunch of gold on your wrist, a Rolex, with the champagne dial. Now, I think they call this thing the golden dial now. I'm not exactly sure why there was a change, although I think there is a slight difference between the champagne look and these new dials, and they really pair up very well with the gold of the watch. This was to celebrate, achievements, basically. So it was, I don't want to get into that too much, but I really wanted something to celebrate a huge milestone, and it really had to be something that looked like a trophy, and that's what this is. And after many years of wearing, nice steel sports watches, there's honestly, people treat you differently with a gold Rolex. I'm not saying go and get a gold Rolex because, it's worth being treated differently, whatever. But, it's noticeable. It's noticeable. Like, it's very, very difficult to notice. Like, service in restaurants a little better. They're expecting a good tip. And I do tip well, so it's not an issue. It has been a lot of fun. And it's still a Daytona. It's still a sports watch, so I don't have to quote unquote baby it. But if I want to put a Daytona through a little bit harder use, clearly I've got the steel one for that. So that's it. That's the latest acquisition. Tell me what you think about this watch box, quote unquote. This is a toolbox made by Tough Built, but I think it just looks awesome. It's reinforced, sealed, and everything. I think it's pretty cool. It was worth the effort. Let me know what you think. Honestly, once I start looking at making the inserts more, higher quality, so that it doesn't have like scuffy edges and stuff like that. It'll be the point where I might be able to actually make them available. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else likes this sort of aesthetic or not. I certainly like it. I like things that, tool watches and toolbox. I don't think it's just a dad joke. I think it's actually cool. I'd much rather these than, say, a Louis Vuitton box. And so that's the collection, guys. If you want to share, I'll put a link down below. I've got a Discord where I'm always chatting about watches with friends and having a good time. So please go in there. We can talk. Otherwise, until next time, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. All right, until next time, see you around.